Today, we're going to talk about the essentials of healthy relationships and healthy friendships. Our relationships are taking us to a destination, right? They're like a ship. That's part of the word relationship. They take us on a voyage. They have a purpose. They may encounter some storms, and they are headed somewhere. And healthy relationships should cause us to be better, to grow, to become the best version of ourselves, and will ultimately help us discover the purpose that God has for us and get us to our destiny. The most important relationship that you can have is one with Jesus, because it's going to take you somewhere, right? That's the best relationship you can ever be a part of. And then unhealthy relationships will keep us stuck. They'll take us places we don't want to go because we probably won't like ourselves by the time we get there, right? Healthy relationships are going to require some certain things to help them grow. We all want to have healthy relationships, healthy friendships, healthy marriages, healthy relationships with our kids, our family. But it's going to require some give and take, right? Healthy relationships have to have certain things. Give and take. They have to have honesty. They have to have mutual honor. And all who enter into relationship have to be willing to grow, to be self-aware, to know what boundaries are. If you don't know what boundaries are, boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and somebody else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership, and knowing what I am to own and take responsibility for gives me freedom. Taking responsibility for my life opens up many different options. See, boundaries help us keep the good in and the bad out. Setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. So you are the one who makes them. You are the one who has to live with their consequences. And you are the one who may be keeping yourself from making the choices that you could be happy with. So we have to own our own thoughts and clarify distorted thinking. Boundaries are so important, and I highly recommend Dr. Henry Cloud has a book called Boundaries, When to Say Yes, How to Say No, and How to Take Control. And it's the number one thing that people struggle with in relationships is proper boundaries. See, we can't manipulate people into swallowing our boundaries by sugarcoating them. See, boundaries are really almost like a test or a litmus test for the quality of our relationships. See, the people that are in our lives that can respect our boundaries will love our will love our opinion, will love our separateness. But people who cannot respect our boundaries, they're telling us that they don't love our no's. They only love our yeses or our compliance or when we do things their way. Like, I only like it when you do what I want to do. That's an unhealthy relationship. So we often fear being honest with people because it was not safe to express honesty in our earthly relationships. Sometimes we grow up and we realize we learn we can't be honest because it blows up in our face when we are. And, we fear abandonment. We fear retaliation. Maybe someone abandoned us or attacked us when we told them how we really felt. Rest assured, however, God desires truth in our inner parts. He wants us to be authentic through and through with ourselves and with our relationships. See, He's seeking people who have a real relationship with Him. He wants to hear it all. No matter how bad it seems to us, when we own what is within our boundaries, then we can bring it into the light and God can transform it with His love. So it's so important that we enforce those boundaries, that we understand and we're authentic and truthful with who we are, because we want to be healthy, right? The healthiest version of you is the best gift that you can give. See, healthy relationship starts with you. It starts with me. If I want to have good relationships, I've got to grow myself. I've got to enforce those boundaries and define those boundaries. And sometimes we don't realize why our relationships aren't working out because we haven't done the work of becoming our best and learning self-awareness. We blame everyone else for the failure of the relationships, but we fail to look at ourselves and how we can get better. Or we think so lowly of ourselves that we blame ourselves completely. It's not all on us, and it's not all on them. We both have to take ownership of our own emotions, our own spirituality. And we've got to become emotionally healthy people. Emotional intelligence is so important. And there's a book called Emotional Intelligence. I highly recommend it. There's another one called Safe People and Unsafe People. And so when we're talking about relationships, you've got to really know what to look for in a good relationship, what to look for in yourself, how to grow yourself. So who is an unsafe person in the Bible? Jezebel was an unsafe person. Saul was an unsafe person. See, unsafe people don't like to admit their weaknesses. Being open and vulnerable is essential to relationships, but they won't do it. Sometimes people will try to hide their weaknesses by focusing on your weaknesses instead. They'll put you down, and it's an easy way to build themselves up. If you're the one with the problems, then they can feel superior to you, and that's a trait of an unhealthy person or an unsafe person. Unsafe people are defensive. A self-assured person is always open to feedback, expressions of concern, and even criticism, especially by people that love them. If you confront somebody with your concerns and they get upset or angry, and they're not able to hear you and not willing to take responsibility for their actions, they're choosing in that moment of time to be an unsafe person. Unsafe people are self-righteous instead of humble. These people see themselves as above everyone else, and they refuse to see their own negative qualities, often by projecting their own flaws and insecurities onto other people. Another trait of an unsafe person is they apologize without changing their behavior. Have you ever had somebody do that? They just keep apologizing, but they never ever change. See, a common pattern in an unsafe relationship is expressions of regret and apologies and promises to change. But those apologies and promises need to be followed by real behavior modifications. Safe people will do that, not because they feel like they have to, because they really want to help themselves and the person that they love. Unsafe people avoid facing their issues. It is far easier for an unsafe person to blame everyone else for their issue than to admit that they have a problem or take steps to deal with it themselves. Furthermore, they treat others with a lack of empathy when they're upset. They find fault in other people, and they often fail to forgive others for their mistakes. Oh, let that not be us, right? I hope you don't see, I know probably see a little bit of each of us in some of these, so don't get too discouraged, but we're on a journey to growth, right? Another thing you can look for in an unsafe person is they will flatter you instead of talking to you. Someone who truly cares about you will share their concerns about you and will be honest with you. Somebody who only tells you your good points is trying to make sure you keep liking them. Unsafe people demand trust. They demand it instead of earning it. See, trust can only be built over time. It grows when we experience consistent, caring behavior. Unsafe people often believe that you should just put your trust in them right away, and they act hurt or defensive if you don't. But see, trust has to be earned. It's got to be earned. And then unsafe people, they lie. They don't tell the truth. Everyone tells untruths sometimes. Let's be honest. We all tell untruths sometimes because it's a self-preservation mechanism. But unsafe people see deception as an effective way of dealing with problems. Safe people admit their deceitful side, and they work at being more honest. Unsafe people, they don't grow. We all have aspects of ourselves that need improvement or behaviors that inhibit our personal well-being, but safe people try to learn and grow over time. They don't blame others. We don't want to blame other people. We don't want to respond defensively. We don't want to fail to change, because we do, it inhibits our growth and it keeps us the same. It keeps us the same. And we're just going to stay stuck at the same emotional level throughout life without ever changing for someone else's benefit or for anyone else's. So any of these characteristics that you see in a relationship, those are red flags. Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, or even a coworker. No one is perfect, okay? So change takes time. But if you notice that someone is resistant to hearing your concerns, if they are angry or defensive and they become angry and defensive with you, or they blame you for their behavior and they don't show you signs of wanting to change, then you have to proceed with caution and perhaps find somebody else who will be both a safe person and safe for you as well. So, safe people. Let's talk about safe people. If you have safe relationships, this is what you can look for in a safe relationship. First of all, it draws you closer to God. It draws you closer to other people, and it helps you become the person that God created you to be. All right? Those are just 3 great ones. And then here's just some short ones. I know we talked at length about the unsafe, but here's just some bullet points that will help you. In unsafe, perfectionism, inability to connect, control issues, judgmental, domineering traits, defensiveness, denial, dishonesty, Those are all traits that are unsafe. And then, the Bible tells us all things that are just destructive behaviors. And so we need to know what those are and what that is so that we can look for that. And then we know how to confront it and how to avoid it. So if you're going to give your heart to people and to trust them, then you need to know what you're looking for. So let's search the scriptures and other biblically based materials so that teach us how we can have these healthy relational patterns. And remember that God wants you to have healthy relationships. He wants you to be able to recognize character, all right? And we have problems in relationships so many times, and we give up. And I just want to encourage you to try to, at the best you can, work things out and talk. And we have to confront things in order to have those kind of conversations. We've got to confront them and be truthful. And we got to do that in community so that we can overcome them. That's like that iron sharpens iron. When we talk about those things and we say, hey, when you did this, it made me feel this way. When we confront things and we talk about things, that's how we can become better and deeper in relationship. So there's redemptive agents in each of our lives. The second one is for you to own protection and growth, as we discussed. Proverbs 27:17, I just said it, as iron sharpens iron, so one friend sharpens another friend. So I just want to encourage you to be the kind of friend that you're the iron that's sharpening yourself, and then you sharpen the people that are around you. And hopefully you will use that as just a framework for your relationships, and you'll look for those safe and unsafe people. And hopefully when you get these discussion questions, you guys will talk about these together and look for those unhealthy patterns and encourage one another and pray for one another. Pray for those healthy relationships. And then be your best. Do your best to be the best version of you as a reflection of Christ that you can be. That's my encouragement to you this week. I pray that you have amazing relationships.